Hello guys, welcome back to JD Bots. This is the bot series on Enterprise Chatbot. Today, we are on the proactive notification final part. In the last two videos, we had seen how to send a proactive notification to the team's user using their conversation ID. And in the last video, we had seen like how to store your conversation ID to Azure stable storage, and as well as how to retrieve it from there and then send the notification to the user. Now we'll be going through another method of sending a proactive notification. This one you might have already seen in the bot framework documentation. So since we are only concerned about the teams, and this is the one. This is a sample where they have created a controller with the endpoint API slash notify. So whenever you hit this particular endpoint, a proactive notification will be sent to all the users whose conversation reference ID is stored in this particular concurrent dictionary. Yeah. So what I have done is I have taken this code sample. Basically, let me just show you the sample that I have taken. Before, okay, let me just go to this particular sample. C#.NET Core, and we have a sample called as proactive messages. In this sample, it is the same implementation that we just saw on the documentation. We have a new controller with the name notify controller, and these are all the contents of it. Basically, it makes use of the app ID, conversation reference ID, and the bot adapter to send the notification to all the members whose conversation reference ID is stored in this particular concurrent dictionary. Yeah. So here it is the for loop where it is sending the notification to all of them and what message is being sent. So it is calling like app ID, conversation reference, and bot callback. This bot callback contains the message that will be sent to all the members, and the message that will be sent is the proactive hello, right? So currently what we'll do now, instead of just focusing on the Teams channel, let's implement the same thing for the web chat, basically using the emulator. I've already added this particular controller to my Enterprise Chatbot, and this is the controller that I have added, and it's the same content, right? Let us modify the message so that it makes more sense. Um, okay, let's see proactive hello from code. We are just because we'll be covering two scenarios here. First, sending the message from the source code itself, and another one when you hit that endpoint, you send the message along with that, and that message you show it in the message message, bot reply basically. So this was the one change that I had done, that is adding the notify controller. Another change is in the startup.cs file. It's up here. We have added, let me just show you. Yeah, this is the one. Create a global hash set for our conversation reference, basically concurrent dictionary, so that you can call it from anywhere. And the next one is in the dialog bot. It's not necessary, but still I have added, because according to the documentation and the sample, they have they are saving this conversation references from the dialog bot, because they have added the on conversation update activity over here, right? But in our case, our conversation update activity is present in the dialogs root dialog. Since our project is based on the adaptive dialogues and our conversation update activity is a trigger, so let me just show you that. Yeah, so here's the one of the trigger, welcome user steps. And in our last video we had covered how to store the user details to Azure storage, and this is the place that we were doing store user details, and we'll be making use of this particular method to store the conversation references to that concurrent dictionary. And how we have done, we have created a property and also initialize it in the constructor the same way how it is done in the dialog bot as per the documentation and the sample. We create the property, we add the parameter to the constructor, and here we initialize that property, right? And okay, let me just show you like how it is adding that store user details. And I have also modified few things over here based on the channel. If the channel is the emulator, we do we add these properties. If it is teams, we have to think of another way because we are already storing this in the Azure table storage, right? So as per the documentation and the sample, let's just test for the emulator for now, and if it is succeeded, then we'll go ahead and modify it further. And this is the one. Yep, so it gets the conversation reference and it just adds to the concurrent dictionary. Yeah, and the key is the user ID and the value is the conversation reference. Okay. Yeah, so these are the main changes that we have done, and let's run this sample and see in action. So as per the sample, whenever you hit that endpoint, it will send the message to all the users whose conversation reference ID is stored into that concurrent dictionary. Okay, so let me open the emulator. All right, so this is the one user that is joining the conversation. So I can also show you the user ID. So B0C1. Okay, now let us create another user. I'll go to file, new bot configuration. Okay, let's see, let's not do it that way. Let's focus on the one user at a time. Okay, so now I'm going to hit that particular endpoint, and the endpoint that I'm going to hit is this one, API slash notify. API slash notify. Okay, so it says that proactive message has been sent. Let's check. Yep, here you see proactive hello from code, and also here the message that is like here you see all the logging appearing. Yeah, so now we have tested it for the one user, let's test it for the another user. I'll create another bot, basically create another configuration of the bot with the same endpoint. Yeah, so now I have to verify that they are the different users. We have the recipient, it is E4C, and the first one was B0C. Yeah, so that means we have two different users communicating with the bot, and let's hit that endpoint and let's see whether we get the message for both the users. Yeah, So the new user has received the message. Let's see the old user, and old user has also received the messages. Yeah. So this one is useful if you want to send the communication to all the users of your bot, but it will not make any sense if you want to send the notification to the limited users or to a certain department or a group. Yeah. For that reason, we have to limit. We don't want to basically call this particular method, that is call this particular piece of code which iterates over all the conversation references. So we don't want this piece of code as of now, right? So what we are looking for, but let's see. I have put a breakpoint and I want to check what is the value present in this conversation reference concurrent dictionary. What is the value? So let me just start debugging, restart the conversation. Okay, let me just okay, let's see. Let's put a breakpoint here and let's see. Okay, so get conversation reference. What exactly it gets? Let's check. Okay, let me move ahead and see. Conversation reference user ID is B9. Conversation reference, we have the activity ID. We have under conversations, we have this conversation ID. Okay, so these all details we get, and let's see what is stored in that dictionary. This is my dictionary and its count has changed to 1, and the first one is the user ID and the second the value is the conversation reference, and under conversation reference we have this all these parameters, properties. Okay, perfect. And now let's move ahead and let's hit that endpoint. Let me just remove these things from here. Okay, let me just hit that endpoint again and let's verify. Okay, so con values, what is there in the values? Conversation references dot values, and okay, and what is there in the conversation reference? Okay, basically it is sending the object completely, and let's see what is happening in the background. We need to find another way because it is sending the conversation reference completely, and we have to create the object. Then only we'll be, because we have different properties that we have stored in the table storage, and we have to make use of that to send the message. Okay, but let's see it later. Okay, okay, now this is the one part of the thing. You hit the endpoint and you get the message. Yeah, now another part. So this message is currently hard coded. There is no way to send it from the place where that endpoint is hit. What we can do, I have created a post method. This post method, what it does, it gets the message. Currently, I am using the parameters to send the message from that endpoint. and that parameter I'll be retrieving up from here. Yeah. So let me just open the Postman. It's the same method that I am using that we have for the get. Only difference, I have just added a new parameter. Here we have this particular endpoint and the message that I am passing is hello JD. Alright, this is the message that I am sending, and let us see. Before that, I have to start debugging this bot. Restart the conversation. Let's remove the endpoint, let this breakpoint from there, and then we can start. Okay, perfect. Now let me send this. So let's see, where are we? So now it will come to the HTTP post, and the message I have received is hello JD, and let's check. Okay, so at this place we have to retrieve that parameter. How we can do it? You just open this and you open the request. Under request we will have that property. This is the one, query string, and this is a message, query string, right? We need to retrieve it from here. And how we can do it? Let's see. This dot, what's the place? Request. No. This dot request dot query string dot value. Yeah. This will get me the parameter, and let me store it. Is that a string? Yes, it's a string. String message. Perfect. Now, since it is URL encoded, we have to decode that one. Okay, let's use this thing. Whether, let's see whether this will work or not. This should be message. Okay, but we don't want that message equal to and question mark. What we can do, we can do string replace. No, message dot replace, and what we have to replace, there is question mark message. Since this will be common for all and equal to, and I need to replace it with an empty string, string dot empty. Yeah, so this looks fine. Now it can just unescape my thing and remove that percentage 20, that's a space. Yeah, let me just remove this breakpoint, and so that it will be visible to you. All right, and we don't have to send it proactive hello from code. We have to send the message. Perfect. Okay, let's stop debugging and let's run. Okay, let me hit that endpoint. Proactive messages has been sent, and let's see. Hello JD. Yeah, perfect. That was cool. And let's change the message. Hello from postman. Okay, we got the message hello from postman, and let's start the conversation from here as well. Restart it, and let's hit that endpoint again. We are checking for two different users. Here, hello from postman, and even my first conversation will receive the message again. Yeah, so this is really cool. Okay, now what if you have few cards to send? I'll not be implementing that scenario, but I'll be showing you how you can achieve that, right? What you can do in this particular endpoint, you go to the body, you click on this raw, you change it to JSON, and here you it is better to encode your adaptive card JSON to base 64 and then send it, and then you decode it in your code. It will be helpful because you'll be just sending a text message. Let's not send it as a okay, let's send it as a JSON like this. You can send it message. I'm just showcasing you how you can achieve. And here your base 64 card, because it can be hero card, it can be adaptive card, or it can be thumbnail card. Yeah, so you just convert that to base 64 string, and then you can send it. And how you can retrieve it, there's a body parameter up here in this thing, request dot body, and that you can, from there you can retrieve it. Yeah, okay, it's just like a normal how you can retrieve the body content from an API call. Okay, after you have retrieved, what you have to do, you just de decode the base 64 card and create a attachment response. Yeah, so this is how you can achieve create attachment response, and then you just send that response, right? We have already achieved this sending a card from the console application. It is a similar job, right? It's just that you're sending that card from a API response. Yeah, okay. And also this particular endpoint is not, it's an open endpoint. Anybody can send the notification to all of your users by getting your host name, and this is the, like, you can change this but piece of code like API notify based on your requirement. But yeah, if somebody have your host name, they can send a proactive notification from anywhere, right? So what we have to do, we have to add some headers, some keys into your API call so that those keys can be verified up here in your source code. Yeah. So how you can do that as well? You come to headers, you give some key that is only understandable by the application sending the notification and by the application receiving the notification. That is our bot application. Let's suppose you send a key, and this key is, let's say, suppose stored in some key vault or some database, and you retrieve it from there and you send that key. Yeah. So my key, and the same key can be verified using your piece of code. How you can go do it? When your endpoint is hit, you do the first job of verifying the request, because else if you do it at a later stage, your notification will be sent. That's the first job that you have to perform. You can just get it from this dot request dot headers. Yeah, through that you can get it. Try get value. Yeah, we have all the properties. So you can try to debug and get the relevant properties that are required, and that which header contains your value. Okay, you can verify it and you can neglect the request. And you can also, if the request is unsuccessful, if it is coming from unauthorized source, you can just send a different message, unauthorized, to the person who is sending the response, right? Okay, so the security related thing that we have discussed, and one more thing that we need to discuss. This was for the emulator or the web chat. How it can be achieved using the Teams bot? Yes, it can. We can reuse the same code for the Teams because it will work for the Teams. It's not a good idea to store all the conversation references to this concurrent dictionary. It will slow down your processing power, because the more the users, this property will take a lot of space on your machine, on your application. Yeah. So we have to modify in such a way that you get this conversation references from the table storage that we have already created, and that table storage you need to pass it, you need to retrieve it here, and then you can send the notification. And another thing, how to send it to the particular user, that also is possible. You just have to get its object ID. If you're sending it to particular user, just pass their object ID into headers or into the body of your API request. And once you have passed it, you can retrieve it over here, and then you can send it. You can read your table storage, get their conversation references, user IDs, and then you send the notification. Yeah, I think we have covered like most of the scenarios. Yeah, okay. Now we'll not be looking into the proactive notification. That was our last session. Next, we'll be starting with the Lewis implementation, and after that, we'll be starting with the Q&A implementation. Q&A is now changed to Language Studio, custom question answering, and Lewis will not be taking from the Lewis portal now. We'll be using the Language Studio for this purpose. Yeah. Okay. See you in the next session.